and welcome to At the Threshold. This is Katie. I'm so glad you're here, and we are at day 3. So thank you for spending your time with me. I hope you found the first few videos helpful. Maybe it's giving you some permission to slow down and reflect. If you're someone who's wondering, when are we going to start thinking about where we're headed, our goals, how we want to get there? Maybe you're looking at these videos because you have big hopes and plans and goals for the coming year. I'm right there with you. I've got a lot of new things started and a lot of things I'm hoping to do and accomplish. So stick with me here. For day 3, I really want to focus on choosing gratitude. Now, I know that sounds cliche and maybe a little too obvious. When we talk about gratitude, a lot of times I think we focus on the blessings in our life that we're grateful for, which is completely helpful, such as I have this beautiful home that I can live in. I live in the country surrounded by nature. I have so many people in my life who accept and love me, and that's a miracle, such a blessing. What I would like to challenge both myself and you today in our reflection is finding examples of how we can be grateful for ourselves, for ways we've shown up in the past year or in the past, for our willingness to be here, being grateful for our bodies to carry us through this life. Sometimes we are so hard on ourselves and our bodies. Maybe it's simply just being grateful that you can see all the hard things you've been through, and yet here you are. And so that's harder. Like, I can come up with a list of things I'm grateful for in my external world, but to find things I'm grateful for myself, it takes a little bit more time. Now, I'm going to go back to you if you're somebody that's like, I want to really think about where I'm headed this new year. I'm tired of focusing on the now. Let me explain myself. I am all for doing things like vision boards, setting goals. They're things that I do myself. In fact, I usually have a list of things I hope to accomplish. I write them on a notepad for the week or month, and then each day I'll circle 1 or 2 that I'm hoping to do that day. Those things work great for me. But I want to make sure that for me, as I start this new year, I'm starting from a place of feeling of abundance. And I'm hoping that if you're following along with me, that you can find that sense too. If we try to create change and new things, I think in this feeling that we're not enough and we need to fix things and we need to flip things around, I think it's not impossible, but a lot more work. And if instead we can find that we are surrounded by abundance and by beautiful things, and we can find the gratitude in where we're at and where we've been, I really believe that the path forward into the next stage, into the next wonderful things we're going to be doing is a lot easier. It's a choice to look at things through a lens of being grateful and through a lens of abundance. Now, I knew at some point in the series I was going to explain probably both of my tattoos, but I'll explain one of the 2 today, I think, because I think it makes a lot of sense. And let's see if I can show you. So here's my tattoo. It's in kind of an awkward spot. But this tattoo is something I got, actually, it was in 2020. And it was at a time, truthfully, that things were difficult. I was the CEO of a very fast-growing company. In my personal life, things were difficult. I hadn't yet left my now ex-husband, but that was sort of brewing. And physically, I had a herniated disc where I could really hardly take care of myself and move, to be honest. Now, that tattoo that I just showed you is represents shefa, which is the Hebrew word for abundance. It's a Kabbalah concept of abundance. And I really chose this tattoo to remind myself of all the abundance that I'm surrounded with. Now, I can go a little bit deeper into what was going on with me at this time as a business owner. As a business owner, I was in a really difficult situation with the development company that was building my application. They, despite being on a contract for project-based pricing, they were kind of holding my code hostage. At least that's how it felt. And they would say, hey, Katie, this thing is going to be, let's just say X amount. And then I would then change things. I'd actually pull things back to make it smaller and smaller. And I would get a bill that would have been 10, 25 times what they quoted me. I wasn't on a times and material contract, if you know what that means. And this happened over and over and over again. And so I felt helpless. I was barely making things work out with the financials of the company. And you probably don't know this if you don't know me personally, but I don't write code. I was at their mercy. I couldn't take control of my own code base, even though I technically had permissions. I didn't know what I was looking at. And I chose to get this tattoo to remind myself that abundance is all around me. It's just a matter of how I look, where I look, excuse me. At the time, I didn't know if I was going to be able to figure this out and to get the control of my code base back. I didn't know if I was going to be able to weather this financial storm of really exploding unmanageable costs. Now, if you're come from the software industry, I've learned that this sort of scenario is not uncommon, but for a non-tech CEO of a tech company, it was a very hard lesson. And, you know, I had several contracts with multi-year contracts. I had a live application, and I had customers, I had employees, I had my family, I had myself, depending on me. And so there was enormous pressure. And I just want to share with you a little bit about how I got through that. It really was by choosing a perspective that if everything fell apart, I would be okay. And that the abundance in my life isn't so narrowly defined by the success of my company. It's not so narrowly defined by how much money I have in the moment at the bank account, and trusting that I'd be all right. Now, this idea of the shefa and abundance, for me, where it hurt me the most when I was in my most darkest moments was what I loved about my company. I loved that it gave me opportunities to create jobs, to create careers for people. It gave me an opportunity to serve an industry that I loved and to help my clients. And it gave me an opportunity to support my family and have some flexibility for being my own boss. And also, the more that I was receiving in my life, the more I was able to give. And this tattoo, I can show it again, has a wave behind it. It has the shefa symbol with a wave behind it. It's just one representation of shefa, of abundance. But I put the wave behind the tattoo because it really was intended to be a reminder that abundance is meant to flow through me. And whether I had the company or not, I would have an opportunity to be a blessing because I would always be blessed in some way. And it was a really difficult time. Now, I got this tattoo, I think in late July, early August of that year. And by mid-September, it was sort of a pivot point when I got the tattoo of just really taking my power back in the situation. And by September, I had a plan to get control of my code base. And by the end of that year, I had hired my first developer. And I had the code base back, and I was working with people who I could trust and who I felt were there to truly support the common goal I was working towards. So when I talk about choosing gratitude and finding things within ourselves to be grateful for, you know, my hope is that when we reflect today, we can find the abundance that surrounds us right now. Because I really believe that all of our hopes and dreams and things we want to accomplish for in the future, when we create out of a sense of abundance, it's so much easier. If we feel like we're not enough and things are just horrible and we're coming out of a sense of lack, it's hard. It's nearly impossible, I think, to build something new from that space. So yes, I promise we're going to get to thinking through what it is we want for this coming year and how are we best served to get there. But for today, my hope for you is that you can find inside yourself examples of how you're grateful for yourself and that feeling of abundance. So I will put out a journal prompt in the Alumah app that goes along with this video. You're welcome to journal wherever you're most comfortable. But I hope that you find this valuable. And I really hope that we together, as we're reflecting, can, find that essence of abundance that we can draw into for the coming year. So thank you for joining me. I know your time is a gift, and I hope that this is something that you find serves you well. I look forward to seeing you tomorrow.